Today we're going to talk about film developing. So the first thing you need when you develop film is to put your film into a film tank. Film tanks are located right up here in this cabinet that says film tanks. You're going to need a couple of different pieces to put your film tank together. The first is the actual tank. The second is the rod. The rod goes into the tank like this, big side facing down, just like that. On this rod, inside here, you can kind of see it there, you're going to put the reels. These are your reels right here. I have two different kinds of reels. First is the reel that has the big tabs right here, and the other reel has small tabs. You're going to be putting your film onto these reels. Now, let's say you only have one reel of film. This is a 2-reel tank. Most of my tanks are 2-reel tanks. I have a few 1 and a few 3. If you use a 2-reel tank and you only have 1 reel of film, you're still going to need 2 reels. You're going to put the reel that has your film on it into the tank like this, and then you're going to put an empty reel on top. Okay? So it goes all the way to the top like this. The reason you do that is because we're going to be shaking this around a lot, and we don't want the reel with our film to be moving up and down. We also don't want it at the top because we only put enough chemicals in to cover the 1 roll of film if we only have 1. So you want to make sure it's at the bottom and then an empty reel is on top of it. Next, you need your funnel. Your funnel's all the way at the top there. It looks like this. It's how chemicals get into your tank without ruining your film. Your funnel actually connects to the rod in the center like this, so that chemicals can come all the way down the rod and fill up your tank, but light can't get in. Okay? That's why the big part of our rod needs to go down, and then this fits into this. So when you put it all together, you put it on there, and then you turn it until it clicks like that, and nothing can fall out. It also allows us to pour the chemicals out that we put into it without having to open it up. The last thing you need is a rubber lid. We put the lid on top. This is to keep our chemicals in when we're agitating, because when we agitate, we turn it all the way upside down. Use a small tank. This is your 1-reel tank. The rods are much smaller. They look like this. You want to make sure that all your pieces fit together before you go into the darkroom to do this. The 3-reel tanks are much larger. They hold 3 reels, and they also have a long rod like this. Okay? All right, so you have your film in here. You've gone into the darkroom. You've done the hard work of putting your film onto the reels and into your tank. Now it's time to develop. Your developing is never going to be a mystery. I have a sheet right here that you will keep with your notes. You can do your developing here at the sink or at your desk. It's a very messy process. I highly recommend wearing an apron so you don't get chemicals on your clothes. I also recommend, if you're the only one developing, that you do it at the sink to kind of eliminate mess. The first time we do it, we're all going to be doing it on the same day, so you're going to need to do it at your desk. You just have to make sure you clean up after yourself. You have them in your notes, the directions, but the directions are also always posted right here. Like I said, none of it is a mystery. I want you to always be really aware of what you should be doing. When you're first starting out, you're going to need to get 3 chemicals. And those are the first 3 chemicals that are listed on your sheet. Developer, stop bath, fixer. They are all listed over here. And they all have their own funnel. They're all listed here and they all have their own funnel. The first one is D76 Developer. Okay? The next one is Stop Bath, which is labeled Stop Bath. It also has a funnel that says Stop Bath. And then Fixer. You're going to pour each chemical into its own measuring cup. Now, as far as how much you need, you always need 10 ounces per roll of film. So if you have 1 roll of film, you're going to fill it to 10 ounces. If you have 2 rolls of film, you're going to fill it to 20. and 3 rolls of film to 30. Okay? So, you take your developer, you fill it to, I only have 1 roll of film, so I'm going to fill it to 10 ounces. And then I'm going to take my dry erase marker, and I am going to write on here D for developer, because what happens is once you get back over to your table and you have 3 measuring things of chemicals, you're only going to be able to tell what the stop bath is, and you'll figure out why in a second. But then if you mix up your developer and fixer, it's bad news. Your film will be ruined and you'll just start all over. Alright, next we have stop bath. I'm also going to go to the 10 ounces. Here, this kind of shows you why you can always tell stop bath. Stop bath is always going to be yellow. Alright? Developer and fixer are both clear chemicals as long as they're fresh. So on my stop bath, I'm going to just write S for stop bath. And then my last one, fixer, right here, I'm going to write, go to 10, and I'm going to put an F on there for fixer. All right, there you go, your 3 chemicals, developer, stop bath, fixer. You want to get those all ready right away, because then you're going to be using those to develop your film, and they go one right after the other. So, to start, you're going to take the temperature of your developer. You want to make sure that your temperature is somewhere between 68 and 72 degrees. This is my thermometer right here. I'm going to turn it on, and you don't even have to take the cover off. You can just put it right in here like this. I'm going to put it in there. It's right at 72 degrees, so I'm good. Now, if it was too warm, I would need to cool it off. If it was too hot, if it was too cold, I would need to warm it up. What you can do is you can take this larger container right here and fill it with water. So that larger container is usually up in here. If you need to make your developer cooler, fill this with cold water. And then you just rest your developer container like this in here, let it float until the temperature goes down to at least 72 degrees. All right? And the same thing if you need to warm it up. Use warm water and do the same thing. Okay? So we have our developer at the right temperature. We're going to pour it in. So what we do is we take this lid off right here, and the directions say, under instructions, it says pour developer in canister and start timer immediately. All right, so you can use your phone. I've got these little timers stuck to the door over here. You're going to start the timer immediately. You're going to agitate for the first 30 seconds and then tap it on the table 2 times. Proceed to agitate it slowly for 5 seconds every 5 seconds every 30 seconds. And it says under the time, we're going to go for 7 to 8 minutes. So, we pour this right here. As we pour it in, we start our timer right away. Hit start. I'm going to put my lid on, and I'm going to agitate it for 30 seconds. Now, you'll want to do this over a table or sink, but you're going to tip it and turn. Turn it and tip it for the full 30 seconds, okay? See, mine's not dripping, so I can do it over here to show you. See how I'm tipping it, but I'm also turning it as I'm tipping it, okay? If I just go like this, only this side of my film would get agitated, okay? So I tip and turn for the full 30 seconds. Now, my 30 seconds are over. I said to tap it 2 times. So I set it on the counter and I tap 2 times. You have to tap because there are air bubbles from all the agitation. The air bubbles will stick to my film, and they'll leave kind of spots on my film. So I'm tapping those air bubbles away. All right? So now I keep watching my timer, and every 30 seconds I pick it up and I do the agitation for 5 more seconds. And then every time I set it down, my 7 to 8 minutes are over. Okay? If it's fresh developer, you can do 7 minutes. If it's kind of older developer, it looks kind of dingy, you're going to do 8 minutes. Okay? It's all done. My timer's done. So the next process I need to do rather quickly because I don't want to waste any time. I don't want the developer to stay on there too long. So I'm going to pour it back into this container because we reuse developer. I'm going to let it all drip out, and then right away I'm going to pour my stop bath in. Now my directions are that I agitate my stop bath for 30 seconds and I let it set for 30 seconds. So again, you're going to set your timer, and I'm going to do 30 seconds of agitating. So for the whole 30 seconds, and then when that 30 seconds is over, I tap and sit for 30 seconds. When stop bath is done, I'm going to pour it out. And next is fixer. So I'm going to pour fixer in right away. Fixer I do for 6 minutes. So I'm going to agitate it for the first 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is just like developer. I do 30 seconds, and then after those 30 seconds are over, do the whole 30 seconds, I'm going to tap it and let it set. Now again, every 30 seconds, I do 5 more seconds of agitation and then tap it and let it set. Okay, so it's been 6 minutes with my fixer. So now I'm going to pour my fixer back out. All right, so the things that are very time sensitive are kind of done. While I was doing all these, I can get my hypoclear ready, okay? So this one right here is going to be hypoclear. Hypoclear takes a little bit of diluting, and it's written right on the bottle right here. If you have 1 roll of film, you only need 2 ounces of hypoclear, 2 rolls of film, 4 ounces, 3 rolls of film, 6 ounces. And then you fill the rest of the way up to water to get the number of ounces you need. So 1 roll of film, you need 10 ounces of liquid all the time. So you do 2 ounces of hypoclear, and then you go up to 10 ounces with water. I'll show you here. All right, so we're gonna go with this to 2 ounces, right there. See, it's just a 2 ounces. I'm kind of tilting it, there we go. And then I'm going to fill it with water to the 10 ounce mark, right there, okay? So, I have my fixer out of here, there's nothing in here. I actually get to take my lid off now. I can take my funnel lid off, and I'm going to pour my hypoclear in here, okay? Now, while my hypoclear is in here, I'm gonna lift this in and out for the whole 2 minutes, okay? If you have a partner, now's a good time for one person to start putting all these chemicals back in there. We reuse all the chemicals except for hypoclear. Hypoclear just goes down the drain. It's really just like a watered down like washing agent, okay? We're washing all the chemicals off of our film. So, I'm gonna let this sit. You're gonna lift it in and out for the full 2 minutes, and then when it's done, you're going to pour it down the drain. Next up is water wash. This is just like in the dark room. We're gonna leave it under cold running water for 5 minutes, okay? And we're just gonna let that run. Now while that's running, we're going to go through, and I'm actually gonna turn it off so you can hear me talking. We're gonna set our timer for 5 minutes. We're gonna make sure that that goes for at least 5 minutes. It can go for a little bit more. Water is something you cannot skimp on, all right? So, our chemicals, let's talk a little bit about those. Developer. Once I'm done with my developer, it goes back into my developer container, which is why I have a special funnel for it. You want to make sure you never mix chemicals. If I got even a tiny bit of stop bath into here, it would ruin all of that. I'm going to put this in the sink because I'm going to wash it out when I'm done. I put that on. Developer is what makes your emulsion fall away to make your picture appear. Just like the ductile developer that we use in the darkroom, D76 developer makes our image appear on our film. It's wiping away, it's kind of washing away all of the parts of the film that were not exposed to light. Next we have stop bath. If you remember from the darkroom, stop bath actually stops the developing process, so your picture doesn't keep developing over time. All right, so there's that. I'm going to wash this out. I'll put it in the sink here. Next, Fixer was the third thing we used. Fixer fixes the picture so that it can see light. That's why after Fixer's done, we can take the lid off of our canister. It's just like with the photo paper in the darkroom. We can then, our photo paper and our negatives are no longer sensitive to light once we use Fixer. HypoClear is like a supercharged way to get all the chemicals off of our film. If we did not use HypoClear, we would actually need to wash it in underwater for about 20 minutes instead of 5. 20 or more, okay? Now, while you're doing your water wash, it's a good time to clean up all your chemicals. So you just simply need to rinse off your measuring cups and put them over here upside down. You don't need to dry them. You don't even need to put them on the drying rack. Make sure you wipe off any of the markings that you did with the dry erase marker on there as well. Get those all clean. And let them sit over here. All right. The next thing you're going to do is also, you need to rinse off your lids and put those on the drying rack over here. There's the drying rack. I'll move this so you can see. So your photo pieces need to go on the drying rack. Don't put them back in the cabinet. I'll do that later after they have dried. Once you're done with your water wash, it's been under there for 5 minutes, you're going to dump it out and put fresh water in, just enough to cover the film that you have in there, okay? So since I only have 1 roll of film in there, I can take this top reel off. It's already been through the wash for 5 minutes. I don't even have to clean it. I just put it over here to dry. And I fill this with water until it covers however many rolls of film I have in there, okay? Now I'm gonna add the photo flow. This is kind of the last step. Photo flow is in this container right here. You add 2 squirts per roll of film. So you just do 2 squirts. And this is kind of like, if you have a dishwasher at home, the jet dry that keeps your glasses from having like water spots on them, that's what this does for the film. All right, so we just agitate really gently. You're gonna see some bubbles, that's okay. You don't wanna see tons of bubbles, but you might see some. And then you're going to squeegee it off. Over here, there's a squeegee, like these squeegee tongs. You're gonna pull your film off of your reel and you're gonna squeegee it like this and go hang it up in the drying cabinet. So there you go. That's all there is to it. You need to make sure that you allow at least 30 minutes for developing film anytime you're in class. If you have less than that, you're going to run into your next hour class, no matter what you plan. So I think that you'll have a lot of fun doing this. Your hands do smell afterwards. You'll want to make sure you wash them really well with soap and water. But it's really exciting when you pull your film out and you can actually see your images on them. All right, so I look forward to doing that with you, and I will see you soon.